Thanks, Kia. She brings up some great message and great information. The education that I think we all feel is very important, letting those hiring managers know. The intangibles that we talked about, General Williams talked about, Colonel Mayer talked about earlier today is important. And if you ever want to, talk about how to find our Marines or soldiers or airmen and sailors, I'm going to introduce our team later on today. You will see all the folks that work for the services, part of that Tiger team that Commander Tomlin was talking about. And you can talk to any one of us about getting in front of soldiers, Marines, and the service members so that you can let them know what you have to offer, and the opportunities and careers that you can provide them. And we'd be more than happy to provide an audience with our units and the Marines that we have for you to talk to. So, with that said, our next speakers, I'd like to introduce Mr. Albert Rentera from the AR Rentera Corporation, Mr. Dave May from the Conway Freight to discuss the value of working with a disabled veteran business.
How you doing, folks? My name's David May. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I served in the Army over 30 years ago. It's nice to be back on a military base. It's the first time for me.
All right, welcome back.
Thank you. You know, I normally don't talk the Army Marine thing that you are all doing today, but I met Albert about 6 years ago. He's a Marine, and I was out of the Army. We met on a convoy. There was the 50th anniversary of the interstate system in America, and a couple things interesting about that was, first of all, it was President Eisenhower who made that possible by signing it in, and President Eisenhower who drove the first truck convoy across our country. I think it was 1919. So you see the huge impact the military carries over into our civilian lives and affects us every day. I was participating in that convoy. I was driving a tractor trailer. I'm a truck driver. A Highway Watch truck. For those of you who aren't familiar with Highway Watch, the program was developed after 9/11, and the purpose of it was to train people in the transportation industry, especially truck drivers, on how to identify terrorist attacks and how to report them to keep our country safe. We're in all the places that they want to be in, chemical plants, energy plants, bases. So I was on there representing that. People came from all across the country to join the 50th anniversary convoy, and we reenacted Eisenhower's trip. Albert was involved with his first program, which was called Operation Independence, where he was committed to finding the needs of soldiers, and he developed a distribution center to make it effective and ship it overseas to give them the folks the things they needed. Like I said, it was a truck convoy, and Albert is not a truck driver, but he was fortunate. One of his volunteers offered him his mobile home. Well, right away we found out he didn't know how to drive one. So the first day the convoy left out, I was in the truck up front, and I would keep an eye on him, and I'd always say, "Where's the Marine?" And I'd look back, and his mobile home would drift back, and then he'd catch up. He seemed to get lost from time to time. At the end of the day, we pulled in for the night into a hotel, and we were all parked, and I was looking for the Marine, and here he comes flying around the corner, up the apron, bottoms out, the bottom of his RV, parks it, and I just thought, he needs a lot of work. Next day, we left right away. I started watching from my mirror again, and I looked, and I said, he's falling back again. And wasn't too long after that I noticed that the front of his RV looked crooked. And I called him on the radio. He pulled over. Well, apparently when he bottomed out, he'd knocked half the bumper assembly off his RV, but it didn't stop him. He pulled over, got some wires, wired it back up, took off again. Got down the road a little further. We stopped. I think we were in the desert for lunch. He wanted to be nice. He put the awning out on the RV for shade. Finished lunch, off we went. I'm looking for the Marine in my mirror, and I don't see him. Finally, I see him closing quick, and I'm thinking to myself, either he's got the biggest flag hanging off of there, or he forgot to put his awning up. So I radioed him. He pulled off to the side of the road, tore the awning off, threw it out in the desert. Then it was a little while after that he put contaminated gas in it and had to get that pumped out. But what was really interesting about it is that you could just see the commitment in this guy. He had some unusual qualities. Driving an RV wasn't one of them. But the qualities that were obvious is that this man was full of integrity, he was full of commitment, and he was committed to excellence to these troops. It didn't matter what he knew or what he didn't know, he was going to take care of those soldiers. It's been 6 years since I've seen him, and I've been proud to know him ever since. And as far as a Marine, what I will tell you, what he demonstrated were the great traits of a soldier. What I'd like to do now, I talk about a little bit, I'd like to talk about when I got out of the Army, remembering what it was like when I was looking for a job. You know, you have mixed feelings. On one hand, you're excited, you're going home, you're going to see your family, your old friends, you're going to look for new employment, start a new life. But on the other hand, it can be a little unnerving, especially if you have a family. You know, one of the things that the military does is it trains you to be independent. But on the other hand, it kind of makes you dependent. Because once you're serving, you don't worry about who's signing your check, and you don't worry about the grocery bill, you don't worry about finding a doctor. Those things are all provided. All of a sudden, that's gone, you're going home, and you got a family to take care of, and you're asking yourself, you know, who's going to want me? Where am I going to work? Can I find a good job? It's kind of scary. The military, what I'd like to do is I'd like to tell you a little bit about my experience when I left. It was 1979 when I fulfilled my commitment to the United States Army, and I was on my way home from Europe to find employment in the civilian world. Well, the Army prepared me for that through the skills that I obtained as a truck driver. But what the Army didn't prepare me for was an economy that was deep in a recession and a hometown that was hit especially hard. It was pretty discouraging going from one trucking company to another, being greeted at the gates by signs that read, "Not hiring, not accepting applications, on layoff." Go home, pick up the evening newspaper, not see one ad for a decent truck driving job. But I was determined that I would drive a truck, so I continued my pursuit of work. Finally, one day in the local newspaper, there was an ad. It was for a small family-owned warehouse, which was right around the corner from where I lived. The job didn't pay a lot. The owner's son drove the trucks when they didn't have a driver, and the owner's son drove the trucks when they were he also road tested all the new drivers. So I thought this would be a perfect place for me to start a career. So I rushed over and I filled out an application, and I hoped to hear from them. A few days later, I drove by and I seen the owner's son road testing a new driver. And shortly after that, I seen that driver working for them. Not long after, I seen that one of their trucks was in an accident and the ad was back in the paper. So I rushed back over and filled out another application, once again hoping to hear from them. Once again, I drove by and I seen the owner's son road testing another driver. Shortly after that, he was driving their truck. Then I'd see the owner's son driving, then I'd see the new driver, then I'd see the owner's son. Well, you see, this new driver that they hired wasn't very dependable. The ad was back in the paper. This time, when I rushed over to fill out another application, I asked to speak to the owner's son. I said, "Sir, it seems to me that you're in a need of a good truck driver." I said, "I'm a good truck driver." I said, "Can you tell me why you haven't hired me?" And he was a little surprised and he hesitated. And he looked at me and said, "I don't know." He said, "Come on in my office." He said, "Let me look at your application." He sat down, he started to read through my application, he stopped. He said, "Here's the reason right here." He said, "All your experience is in the military." He said, "I can't verify your experience." I looked at him, I said, "Sure you can." I said, "Get in that truck with me and give me a road test." Well, once again, he hesitated, but he agreed. He gave me a pretty lengthy road test. And when we were done, he got out of the truck, he walked over to me and he said, "David," he said, "you're a good truck driver. Would you like a job?" I just looked at him, I said, "Sir, that's what I've been trying to tell you." I said, "If you give me this opportunity," I said, "I'm going to work hard for you." And I did work hard for him, and I loved that job. But it didn't take me long to realize that if I was going to obtain the things that I wanted for my family and life, quality health insurance, a home of our own, that I was going to have to find other employment. I continued to work hard for him, but I continued to look for other work. The problem was, at that time, I could only find one company where I lived that was hiring truck drivers on a regular basis that could provide me the things that I needed. So I targeted that company. Every chance I got, I went over and filled out an application. I'd always ask for 1 or 2 to take home with me. As soon as I got home, I'd fill them out and I'd mail them in. Before work, after work, lunchtime, day off, application. Finally, I got a call from him. It was the manager. He called me up and he said, "David, right now I have the need to hire an additional truck driver." He said, "So I've been going through my employment application files." He said, "I keep 2 of them, yours and everybody else's." He said, "You must have over 50 applications in here." He said, "I guess you really want to work for us." I told him the same thing. I said, "Sir, that's what I've been trying to tell you." I said, "If you give me this opportunity," I said, "I'm going to work hard for you." Well, I worked hard for them for 16 years until business conditions changed and they no longer employ truck drivers. So I took my desire for an opportunity and my promise of hard work to my current employer, Conway Freight. For 15 years now, I've worked hard for them. And for 15 years now, they've continued to give me opportunities. From being a driver, to a trainer, to running a commercial driver's license school, to being part of a national advisory committee in Washington, helping us shape the rules and regulations for our industry, to being selected as a member of America's Road Team. And what that's all about is that you represent all the other drivers in this country and our industry. And I don't think there's a higher honor you're going to give a driver than that. You know, right away at Conway, I noticed things were different. First of all, I only had to fill out 1 application. And then when it came to veterans, this is a company that appreciates veterans, it recognizes their abilities, it employs veterans, and they're trying to do their part. One of the programs that I participate in is the Commercial Driver's License School. I think it's a nice fit for veterans because when you, in order to enter our school, if you come out of the military, you're not sure what direction you want to go into. We have a school that's paid for, it's free. We give you employment, working, loading, and unloading trucks until you finish the school. Upon graduation, we're looking to hire you and give you a full-time job. If you come out and you have a license already for truck driving, but you have no experience, we have another program where we pay you to go to school because we want you to be at top performance. We want all our drivers to be safe. Once you finish the paid school, we're looking to give you a full-time job. Companies should look for ways that it's easy for veterans to join their workforce. One of the other things I noticed about my current employer was everywhere I went, I seen these values posted. They were in the hallways, they were in the break room, on our literature. 3 simple values: integrity, commitment, and excellence. This is a $1 billion corporation that I work for that built their corporation on a simple business model and finding and retaining people with those basic qualities. Those are the same basic qualities of a great soldier. A great soldier will make a great employee. I think veterans can benefit your companies in ways that you can't imagine. You know, they're used to being motivated, but yet they're self-motivating. They're used to working as an individual, but they know the importance of having a team mentality. I think what I'd like to touch on now is the importance that veterans develop skills when we're in the military. The problem is, somebody spoke about it earlier, is they don't always transfer well over to an interview. They don't always transfer well over to a resume. How do you prove leadership qualities? How do you verify skills like a truck driver, like I was trying to do, or a heavy equipment operator? How do you prove you possess those important qualities that so many companies seek of commitment, integrity, and excellence? Veterans shouldn't expect all employers to just give them a job. but an opportunity would be nice. An opportunity for an interview, an opportunity to show you their qualities, an opportunity to verify their experience, an opportunity to see if their skills can make your business better. A couple years ago, my employer asked me, they approached me about running a CDL, a commercial driver's license school. They made a commitment. The trucking industry is constantly raising the bar. We need better and better people, safer and safer drivers. So they decided that they're gonna commit towards growing their own, and that's why they developed these schools. And they asked me if I would run a school for them. The personnel manager was assigned the task of finding the right people for our company, finding people that would fit the school, that fit our type of work. So he came to me and he asked me, he said, I want to know what you think. What should I look for? What kind of people do I need to be watching for? Do I need to be watching for people that have some truck driving experience, maybe heavy equipment operators, people that are used to working different shifts, or that are used to a 7-day, 24-hour operation like ours? He said, what do I need to look for? And what I said to him, I said, you know, I pretty much think I can teach anyone who has the desire and is fairly intelligent on how to be a good truck driver. I said, but what I can't teach them is how to be a good person. If you bring me good people, I'll bring you good truck drivers. What I'm trying to tell you is the military is full of good people. Teach them, hire them, let them make your business better. I'd like to share a little something with you. It's something that I've always had, it's always touched me. It has an effect on me. I was 17 years old when I joined the Army. I didn't think I was too young. I actually thought I was quite grown up. My father had to sign the paperwork. I'm sure in my father's eyes, I seemed very young. Well, now I'm my father's age. And I'll tell you, sometimes I see soldiers that seem very young. And it has the strongest effect on me if I see them in an airport, especially if they're by themselves, and especially if they look like they're a little down or a little sad. So right away I wonder, are they just leaving home and being shipped out? Or are they just trying to find their way back home? If it is easy for us to let them leave home and be shipped out, then it should be easy for us to help them when they get home. An opportunity. I'd like to turn my program over to Albert right now, but before I do, I'd like to thank you for your participation, and I'd like to thank you in advance for giving a soldier an opportunity. Thank you.